What's up, gamers? Moon here. I came back from BlizzCon last weekend and 10.2 is dropped, so I've been playing a lot of the new BG Blitz game mode. Today I'm going to be talking about my personal thoughts of it and if I think it can be a viable competitive mode in the future. So with the Battleground Blitz format, you have 2 healers on either team and then 5 or 6 DPS, dependent on if you have a tank or not. It plays the normal Battlegrounds out, but instead what it does is it increases your mount speed by 150%, and then there's some extra power-ups along the way. I've seen so far the invisibility power-up. I've also seen there's like a shield power-up that you can get on Katmogu. That's like a 500 to 700,000 shield. And the premise of it is to sort of expedite the Battleground process. And sort of give a new solo queue rated play for people who may be a bit hesitant to jump into the RBG scene. For what it's worth, I don't blame them. The RBG scene is toxic and miserable, and even when I was pushing as a healer in like Shadowlands Season 1, it got so toxic at the higher levels where I just decided it wasn't worth it. Plus, you've got things like win trading going on, you've got things like boosting going on, and then the boosting communities will try to get each other banned. That's another topic for another time, but I respect Blizzard's approach to try to make rated Battlegrounds more accessible. That being said, there's a few things I like. There's also a few issues I've got with it, and we'll get right into that. So the number one thing that I like about BG Blitz, what they did to kind of switch it up, is I like how they made the 5 base maps have these cappable bases where they're like on a timer. So essentially, if you cap a base on a 5 base map like Arathi Basin or Deepwind Gorge, you have to contest and sit at the base while it's capping to the Horde or Alliance side. When it finalizes the cap, the base is locked for 45 seconds and you're getting points from it. So you can move on to other bases, you can get into different fights. The biggest concern that people had with rated Battlegrounds is the base sitter role. It's something that nobody really wants to do. And it's also one of the most stressful roles in a sense, because if you get crowd controlled by a rogue, you lose your base. So then your team gets way behind and then everybody blames you and calls you stupid and calls you a bunch of slurs because, well, why were you on TikTok? You should have been watching the base. There's a lot of issues that comes with that role, and I think Blizzard was trying to do their best to remove it. I personally really like it. I like that you can lock in the base, you only hold it for 60 seconds, and then you get that option to rotate if you want to. It also allows rogues and hunters to be in the team fight more, and I don't know if me saying that rogues should be in team fights as a healer myself is like masochistic in a way, but whatever, we're rolling with it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good job that they did that. Number 2 for me personally would be to have the option to duo queue as a healer. One of the biggest concerns I've had about solo shuffle, when it, at least in the arena sense, is that as a healer you really don't have a whole lot of impact. I've made a video about this, bitching about it before. I don't know if I've privated it yet or not, but it was really long and drawn out, and so I'm not going to rehash that same beef. But what I like about BG Blitz is that if there's a DPS player I like, or even if I just want to queue up with another healer friend, we both have the option to duo queue together. We can synergize, we can communicate. I understand that people can think that this will lead into some pocketing concerns where it's like one healer and one DPS are with each other the whole time and the healer's only healing that DPS so that DPS can carry the game. Yeah, it's annoying. Do I think it'll happen a lot? Probably not, because there's more incentive to keep the whole team alive, at least when you're doing macro play such as like Battle for Gilneas or when you're fighting on Warsong Gulch. So being able to have that option to duo queue is really cool. The third thing I like would be the pace of the game. How the pace of the game is significantly faster. I can get a lot of these BG Blitz in one queue session. Even as DPS, it didn't feel like I waited too long for a queue compared to, say, solo shuffle, just because you can fit healer to DPS wise more DPS with the same amount of healers. Well, actually, yeah, three DPS compared to 2 DPS per healer, so DPS are overall going to be sitting lower queue times. That's something that's cool. I do wish that if Blizzard were to make this a actual competitive mode, that you could queue for solo shuffle arena and solo shuffle BG Blitz at the same time. That would be cool, to where you could at least try climbing rating and multiple ladders while you're waiting for one of your other queues to pop. That's the biggest thing that has gotten people to quit the game, at least from a DPS standpoint, was queue times. And I feel like if you could queue for multiple things, then that would help better address that. So I went over most of the things that I like about BG Blitz. There's one aspect of BG Blitz I have more of like a mixed take on, and then the rest I'm not really a big fan of. So let's go ahead and start with that mixed take. With regards to the mount speed, I like that it's faster than the normal mount speed because you can react to bases faster, you can get to team fights quicker, but I do feel like it's a little bit too fast. So much so to where it feels cartoonish and not serious in a way. How can I better articulate this? It just feels goofy. It looks goofy when you're zipping across the map at insane mount speeds. And while I do agree that it's fun, I think if it was tuned down like maybe 20 or 30%, that would be like the perfect golden ideal of what we should strive for. All right, so time for the things I'm not really a big fan of. Number one, the power-ups. I think they feel very gimmicky and very cartoonish. I don't foresee them being fun or engaging when it comes to an actual ranked mode that you can get points off of. While I've had some friends disagree with me and talk about other things such as like the Leaf or Berserker or like the cooldown reset on Deepwind Gorge, those have already been in the rated Battleground scene. They are already solidified. They've got years behind them of being able to make it work, adjust to it. And overall, those power-ups are not that game. Yeah, it's cool for a healer to be able to go out and get a additional bar of mana, but if you get in combat during that time, you lose the buff. Berserking has a double-edged sword effect because you take 10% increased more damage as well. The cooldown reset, you could argue, is a little bit busted, but it is only on one of the maps, so it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. There have been games so far on like Temple of Katmogu where I will be holding an orb as my Mistweaver monk, and I will go and pick up that 700k shield. Well, now I have an entire life cocoon that they have to beat through before they start to kill me, and then even then I'm rotating through my healing defensive cooldowns. I don't die. I don't think that's really fun or engaging if we're supposed to be pocketing the orb carriers and they have this extra massive shield. The other thing is invisibility. There are some classes that I think invisibility is very gimmicky on, and I just am not a big fan of it overall. I haven't seen some of the other power-ups yet. I don't know if those were the only two that they've added so far. But with my experience with power-ups, it feels a lot like a Warsong Gulch brawl, if you know what I'm talking about. Where there's it feels gimmicky. It feels like a cartoon mode. It's not something that would be taken seriously. My last point would be that the BG Blitz format definitely sets up avenues to elicit toxicity, and I don't think I've gone one game out of the over 50 BG brawls I've played so far without somebody losing their mind in instance chat and screaming in all caps or talking about like how good they are and how they don't deserve to be playing with scrubs. First off, there's no actual rating attached to it. Get over yourself. But second, the RBG community already has a bad rap as is, and I tell people to steer clear of it because of how toxic it is, how clicky it is, and generally how unfun it is when you start to push rating to a more competitive level. I wish there was a way to like report somebody out of a BG and have it canceled, but then again, maybe that might be a bit too extreme on the takes, because then, you know, with pre-mades and duos and shit, that could lead to some issues as well, having it backfire. But and while I am more of a fan of the block and move on, it's still not okay to allow this shit to happen within our game. And we got to do a lot better job of being better players, helping out the newer and lower people who may not be doing so hot. Give them more constructive feedback as to what they can do to improve, and really sort of be there to help bring other players up. Because let's face it, guys, nobody new is coming to our game. I'm 22 and I'm probably one of the youngest players still playing this game in the rated BG mode, rated arena mode. So we've got to do more to retain people as a community, and we've got to do more to make people actually want to play our game as the player base. That being said, BG Blitz, do I think it will be a viable competitive mode? No, I don't. I think in its current state, it's great as a brawl, it's great as an arcade mode. While I want to see it refined more and tweaked more to where it can become a viable competitive mode, I don't think in its current rendition that it would be fantastic as is. feel like we are all on the hype train a lot, and we were all on the hype train for solo shuffle. We kind of shoved that out way too early, and now look at the glaring issues that Blizzard has still yet to address when it comes to the solo shuffle mode. My last concern with BG Blitz is it fragmenting the already small player base further and further and further and further. We already saw how inaccessible Gladiator became once solo shuffle entered the fray as the new popular game mode for rated arena. We know that twos is kind of a novelty bracket, that nobody plays it seriously anymore, and RBGs, it's kind of its own thing too. So if you were to add BG Blitz as another 5th bracket that you can get rating off of, you would be fragmenting the community so much more than you already are. And again, because we are not getting new players in any way, we've not found the way to sell World of Warcraft PvP to new players, or to even get the 90-something% of people who just do PvE to come try it out a incentive to play. I think we're going to be in some real trouble coming into future expansions, because we can't just be riding off of the hype of a new patch or a new expansion and then the season dies and then we all complain about it and be like, oh, what went wrong? I feel like we need to approach this with a more solution-oriented mindset, and since Blizzard seems to not give a shit about the PvP fan base or its player base, we as content creators and as the community have to give people a reason to love the game. Do I love playing BG Blitz as it is right now? Yeah, I totally do. It's super fun, and I'm gonna make content, and I think it's fantastic in the current mode that it's in, but I do want to see it refined a little bit before it's pushed out. That being said, my name's Moon. Hope you all enjoyed this. This is one of the more serious PvP videos I have. I hope to make some more goofy shit soon and let y'all have fun with that. And until next time, peace out.